The moment Rowan heard his mother say, "You're no longer my son," his world shattered into pieces he never thought could be glued back together. He stood frozen in the doorway of their modest Chicago bungalow, the scent of her lavender candles still clinging to the air, while Linda Thompson clutched the edge of the kitchen counter, her knuckles white and her eyes blazing with a fury he had never seen directed at him. "I raised you better than this, Rowan. That man Marcus, whatever he is to you, he's ruined everything. Get out." The words landed like fists and Rowan felt the air leave his lungs. He had come home that rainy October evening hoping for understanding, not exile. At 28, he had finally found the courage to tell her the truth about the relationship that had quietly become his anchor for the past 2 years. Now the only home he had ever known was slamming its door behind him. Rain soaked through his thin jacket as he walked the 6 blocks to Marcus's apartment, his duffel bag heavy with the few clothes he had grabbed in a daze. Streetlights blurred through tears he refused to let fall. Marcus opened the door before Rowan could even knock, pulling him inside without a word. The warmth of the small one-bedroom in Lincoln Park wrapped around him like a promise. "She'll come around," Marcus whispered, pressing his forehead to Rowan's. At 30, Marcus was the steady one, a pediatric oncologist at Northwestern with calm brown eyes and a smile that had first caught Rowan's attention at a mutual friend's barbecue 2 summers earlier. Tonight that smile was the only thing keeping Rowan from falling apart. The days that followed blurred into a painful rhythm. Rowan crashed on Marcus's couch at first, then slowly moved his things into the closet they now shared. He taught literature at a public high school on the South Side and threw himself into lesson plans grading essays on The Great Gatsby, as if the words could drown out the echo of his mother's voice. Colleagues noticed the shadows under his eyes, but he brushed them off with jokes about too much coffee. Inside, the rejection carved a hollow space he didn't know how to fill. He had always been the good son, the one who called every Sunday, helped with yard work, and never once complained when his father left them when he was 12. Now that identity lay in ruins and the new one felt fragile, terrifying. Marcus never pushed. He cooked pasta on weeknights, left sticky notes with silly drawings on the fridge, and held Rowan through the nights when nightmares of slammed doors woke him gasping. Their love had grown slowly from late-night talks about books and patience to quiet mornings where Marcus traced lazy circles on Rowan's back. "You don't have to be strong every second," Marcus said one evening as they sat on the fire escape, watching the city lights flicker on. Rowan leaned into him, breathing in the scent of hospital soap and fresh cologne. For the first time, he allowed himself to believe that maybe this was enough, that love could be a home when blood failed him. Yet the silence from his mother gnawed. Linda's number sat blocked in his phone after the 3rd unanswered call. He drove past the bungalow once on his way to school, the curtains drawn, the porch light off, even though it was only 6 o'clock. Part of him wanted to pound on the door, demand an explanation. The bigger part feared what she might say next. He threw himself into grading midterms and volunteering at the local LGBTQ youth center where he mentored teens navigating their own coming-out storms. One boy named Tyler reminded him so much of himself at 17 that Rowan stayed late helping him rewrite a college essay about identity. "You're braver than you know," Rowan told him, and in that moment, the words felt like they were meant for both of them. Marcus's friends became Rowan's too. Friday nights brought laughter and board games in their living room, laughter that sometimes felt forced but always genuine. Sarah, a nurse from Marcus's hospital, brought homemade cookies and never asked prying questions. "Family is who shows up," she said once, squeezing Rowan's shoulder. He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. Slowly, the hollow space inside him began to fill with new connections, new routines. Yet every time he passed a mother and son on the street, the ache returned sharp and sudden. Winter arrived early that year, blanketing Chicago in snow that muffled the city's usual roar. Rowan and Marcus decorated a small tree in their apartment, hanging ornaments they had bought together at a craft fair. Marcus hung a tiny stethoscope charm next to a miniature book, and Rowan laughed for the first time in weeks. On Christmas Eve, they exchanged gifts, simple things, a leather-bound journal for Rowan, a new watch for Marcus. Under the soft glow of string lights, Rowan felt something shift, a quiet acceptance that this life with Marcus was not second best, it was his. Still, the empty chair where his mother should have sat haunted him. Linda Thompson spent that same Christmas alone in the bungalow she had once filled with holiday music and too many cookies. The silence pressed against her chest like a weight. She had always believed she was protecting Rowan from a world that would chew him up and spit him out. Her own father's harsh words about those people still rang in her ears decades later. She told herself she was doing the right thing, that tough love would bring him back straight and whole. But the house felt too big, the nights too long. She stared at old photo albums, flipping past pictures of Rowan's graduation, his first bike, his gap-toothed smile. Each image stabbed deeper. She picked up the phone more than once, only to set it down again, pride a cold companion in the empty rooms. The new year brought no thaw. Rowan focused on his students organizing a poetry slam that celebrated diverse voices. Marcus's shifts at the hospital grew longer as flu season hit hard, but he always came home to Rowan exhausted yet present. Their intimacy deepened in small ways, shared groceries, late-night talks about dreams, Marcus wanting to open a clinic for underserved kids, Rowan imagining writing a novel someday. Love was no longer just comfort, it was becoming the foundation they both stood on. Rowan began to see a future where the rejection didn't define him, where Marcus's steady hand guided him forward. Yet the past refused to stay buried. One gray February afternoon, Rowan received a letter in his school mailbox, no return address. Inside was a single sheet, his mother's handwriting shaky but unmistakable. "I'm sorry, I can't say more. Just know I think about you every day." He read it 3 times in the empty classroom, the paper trembling in his hands. Marcus found him that evening, still clutching the note, tears carving silent paths down his cheeks. They sat together on the couch, Marcus's arm around him, until the city outside quieted. "Maybe this is her way of reaching out," Marcus said softly. Rowan wanted to believe it, but the wound was still too fresh, the words too few. He folded the letter and tucked it into his journal, a fragile bridge across an ocean of hurt. Spring arrived with tentative warmth, melting the last patches of ice. Rowan and Marcus took long walks along the lakefront hand in hand when no one was watching too closely. Society's gaze still stung in certain neighborhoods, but in their corner of Lincoln Park acceptance felt possible. Rowan started therapy recommended by a colleague, processing the layers of shame and anger. Each session peeled back another layer, revealing a man who was learning to stand tall, not despite his love for Marcus but because of it. Marcus watched the transformation with quiet pride, cooking Sunday brunches and reminding Rowan daily that he was enough exactly as he was. Linda, meanwhile, threw herself into church activities, volunteering at the food pantry, anything to fill the void. Friends asked about Rowan, and she changed the subject with practiced smiles. Inside, guilt festered like an untreated wound. She attended a support group for parents of estranged children but left after the first meeting, unable to voice the real reason for the rift. Pride still stood like a wall between her and the truth she was beginning to confront in the lonely hours before dawn. The fragile peace shattered on a rainy Thursday in late April. Rowan was grading papers when his phone buzzed, an unknown number. The voice on the other end was a stranger, a paramedic. "Mr. Thompson, there's been an accident. Your mother Linda, she's asking for you. It's critical." The world tilted. Rowan's hand tightened around the phone, Marcus appearing at his side instantly. In that instant, everything changed. The mother who had disowned him now lay broken in a hospital bed, and the choice she had forced upon them both was about to demand an answer neither had prepared for. Rowan's legs felt like lead as he and Marcus raced through the rain-slicked streets toward Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The paramedic's words replayed in his head: critical condition, head trauma, multiple fractures. He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, Marcus's hand resting steady on his thigh. "We'll face whatever comes," Marcus said, voice calm but eyes betraying the storm inside. Rowan nodded, unable to speak past the knot in his throat. The mother who had slammed the door on his truth now needed him, and the irony burned hotter than any anger he had carried. The emergency room smelled of antiseptic and fear. A doctor in scrubs met them at the desk, his face grave. "Mrs. Thompson was hit by a drunk driver running a red light. She's in surgery now for internal bleeding." We're doing everything we can. Rowan sank into a plastic chair, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. Marcus sat beside him silently, offering strength without words. Hours crawled by, nurses updating them in clipped tones. Rowan stared at the linoleum floor, remembering every argument, every missed call, every holiday alone. Guilt mixed with fear in a cocktail he couldn't swallow. When the surgeon finally emerged, Rowan stood on shaky legs. She made it through, but she's in a medically induced coma. The next 48 hours are critical. She has a severe concussion and we repaired a ruptured spleen. Family support will be key. The doctor paused, glancing at Marcus, then back at Rowan. She was asking for you before we put her under. Kept repeating your name. The words landed like a lifeline and an anchor all at once. Rowan followed the nurse to the ICU room, the beeps of machines filling the sterile space. Linda lay pale and small tubes snaking from her arms, bandages covering half her face. The woman who had once towered in his memory now looked fragile, breakable. Marcus waited outside, giving Rowan space. Inside, Rowan pulled up a chair, taking his mother's cold hand. "I'm here, Mom," he whispered, voice cracking. "Even after everything, I'm here." Tears slipped down his cheeks unchecked. He stayed through the night, Marcus bringing coffee and quiet company during shift changes. Hospital staff moved around them, efficient yet kind. One nurse, a kind-eyed woman named Carla, noticed the tension and offered a gentle smile. "We see all kinds of families here. Love shows up in different ways." Her words lingered long after she left. By morning, Linda remained unconscious but stable. Doctors warned of possible brain swelling and the need for constant monitoring. Rowan called in sick to school, arranging substitutes and lesson plans from his phone. Marcus adjusted his own schedule, trading shifts to stay close. Their apartment felt distant now, replaced by the harsh reality of plastic chairs and vending machine meals. In quiet moments, Rowan replayed the letter his mother had sent, the one line of apology that had cracked open a door he thought permanently closed. Now that door felt like it might swing wide or slam shut forever, depending on what came next. Friends rallied. Sarah from the hospital brought clean clothes and takeout. Tyler, the student Rowan mentored, texted encouragement that made Rowan smile despite everything. Even colleagues sent flowers with notes of support. The outpouring reminded Rowan he was not alone, that the family he had built with Marcus and chosen friends stood ready. Yet the woman in the bed, the one who shared his blood, remained the missing piece. On the third day, Linda's eyelids fluttered. Rowan was reading aloud from a dog-eared copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, his voice steady despite exhaustion. She stirred, murmuring his name. "Rowan." The sound was weak but unmistakable. He set the book down, heart hammering. "Mom, I'm right here." Her eyes opened slowly, focusing with effort. Pain clouded her gaze, but recognition dawned. Then her eyes shifted to Marcus, standing quietly by the window, and something hardened in her expression. The machines beeped faster. A nurse rushed in, adjusting medication until Linda settled again, eyes closing once more. The brief awakening left Rowan raw. He stepped into the hallway, Marcus following. "She saw you," Rowan said, voice thick. "And I don't know if she can handle it." Marcus pulled him into a hug, strong and unwavering. "Give her time. You showed up, that's what matters." They stood like that for long minutes, the hospital bustle fading into background noise. Rowan realized then that his love for Marcus was not a complication, it was the strength carrying him through this storm. Linda's condition improved slowly over the next week. She woke fully on day 5, groggy and in pain but coherent. Rowan sat with her every afternoon, reading, talking about safe topics, the weather school, his students. He avoided Marcus's name at first, sensing the tension. Linda listened, eyes distant, but she squeezed his hand once, a small gesture that felt monumental. Doctors discussed rehabilitation, physical therapy, long recovery ahead. Rowan coordinated with insurance paperwork piling up on the bedside table. Nights he returned to the apartment, collapsing into Marcus's arms, grateful for the quiet sanctuary they had created. Marcus never complained about the long hours or the emotional toll. He brought Linda's favorite tea from the cafeteria and spoke softly to nurses about pain management. One evening, as Rowan dozed in the chair, Marcus sat beside Linda's bed reading a magazine. She stirred, turning her head. "You're the one," she whispered, voice hoarse. Marcus met her gaze steady. "Yes, ma'am. I love your son more than anything." Silence stretched, then Linda closed her eyes again, no further words. The exchange hung in the air, a tentative bridge across years of silence. Rowan's internal world churned. Anger still simmered beneath the surface, the rejection a scar that pulled tight with every breath. Yet watching his mother fight for life softened edges he thought permanent. He journaled late at night, pouring out confusion, hurt, and the slow bloom of forgiveness. Marcus read the entries when Rowan asked, listening without judgment. Their relationship deepened in the crucible of crisis conversations, turning to future plans: a bigger apartment, maybe adopting a dog someday. Love became both refuge and catalyst, pushing Rowan toward the man he was meant to become. Society's judgment crept in subtly. A distant cousin called, offering prayers but questioning why Rowan was handling everything alone. "Your mother always said you were going through a phase." The voice on the phone dripped disapproval. Rowan hung up, heart pounding. He shared the call with Marcus later, their conversation stretching into the early hours. "I'm done hiding," Rowan declared. "This is who I am." Marcus kissed him softly, affirming the truth they both knew. Linda's rehab began in the hospital's therapy wing, slow, painful steps with walkers and encouragement from physical therapists. Rowan attended every session, cheering her progress. She spoke more openly now about the accident, the fear, the pain. Yet the elephant in the room remained unspoken until one afternoon, as they sat in the courtyard sunlight, warming their faces. "I was wrong, Rowan," she said, suddenly, voice trembling. "About you, about Marcus. Seeing you here, it's made me realize pride nearly cost me everything." Tears welled in her eyes, and Rowan felt his own throat tighten. The words he had waited years to hear landed softly, healing yet fragile. He took her hand, no grand declarations, just quiet presence, the beginning of something new. Rehabilitation stretched into weeks, turning the hospital into a temporary home. Linda progressed from walker to cane, her body mending faster than the fractures in their relationship. Rowan balanced teaching with daily visits, Marcus covering shifts so they could share evenings at the apartment, debriefing over simple dinners. The routine grounded them both, a rhythm of care and quiet strength. Tyler, the student, visited once, bringing a handmade card that made Linda smile for the first time in months. "Your son changed my life, Mrs. Thompson," Tyler said shyly. Linda glanced at Rowan, eyes glistening with something new, pride mixed with regret. Marcus's role evolved subtly. He consulted on Linda's pain management, drawing on his oncology expertise to suggest adjustments that eased her discomfort. Linda watched him with guarded curiosity, no longer flinching when he entered the room. One afternoon, while Rowan stepped out for coffee, she spoke directly. "You stayed even when I didn't deserve it." Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, calm as ever. "Rowan is worth every second. And so are you." The exchange was brief, but it cracked open a door neither had expected. Linda nodded slowly, the weight of years lifting just a fraction. Rowan felt the shift internally too. Therapy sessions now focused on integration, how to weave his past with his present without letting either define him completely. His therapist, Dr. Patel, a soft-spoken woman with sharp insight, encouraged journaling letters he might never send. Rowan wrote one to his absent father, another to the version of himself who had hidden for so long. Reading them aloud to Marcus became ritual, cathartic, and bonding. Their love matured into partnership discussions, turning to long-term dreams, Marcus envisioning a clinic, Rowan outlining chapters of the novel he was finally starting to draft. Society's gaze remained a quiet pressure. At school, a parent complained about Rowan's lifestyle influencing students after seeing him and Marcus at a cafe. The principal stood firm, praising Rowan's work, but the incident stung. Rowan channeled the frustration into an after-school club for LGBTQ allies, watching students like Tyler flourish. Marcus faced similar whispers at the hospital, colleagues questioning his dedication amid personal strain. He met it with quiet competence surgeries and rounds unchanged. Together they built resilience one shared glance at a time. Linda's discharge approached. Rowan prepared the bungalow cleaning, dusting, stocking the fridge with her favorite foods. Marcus helped installing grab bars in the bathroom, arranging follow-up appointments. The move felt monumental, a return to the house that had once rejected him. On moving day, Linda sat in the passenger seat of Rowan's car, watching the familiar streets roll by. "It looks smaller somehow," she murmured. At the bungalow, Marcus carried boxes inside, careful not to overstep. Linda watched from her recliner, the tension palpable yet softening. Evenings brought tentative conversations. Linda asked about Marcus's work, about their life together. Rowan answered honestly, describing the laughter, the support, the way Marcus made ordinary days feel extraordinary. Linda listened without interruption, her hands twisting in her lap. "I thought I was protecting you," she admitted one night over tea. "From what the world would say. But I only hurt you more." Rowan set his mug down, meeting her eyes. "We can't change the past, Mom. But we can choose what comes next." The words hung between them, a fragile truce. Challenges persisted. Linda's physical therapy continued at home, Rowan assisting with exercises, Marcus coordinating with therapists. Old neighbors dropped by, offering casseroles and questions Rowan deflected politely. One Sunday, a church friend visited, bringing pamphlets about healing ministries. Linda accepted them politely but later tucked them in a drawer unread. The gesture marked progress, small but significant. Rowan noticed the change and allowed hope to take root. Marcus's family entered the picture gradually. His parents in suburban Naperville invited everyone for a weekend barbecue. The drive was quiet, Linda fidgeting in the back seat. Marcus's mother greeted them with warm hugs, no judgment in her eyes. "We're so glad you're here," she said, squeezing Linda's hand. The afternoon unfolded with laughter, stories, and Marcus's father manning the grill. Linda relaxed, visibly sharing gardening tips with Marcus's mom. Watching them, Rowan felt a weight lift, something he hadn't realized he carried. Back in Chicago, routines solidified. Rowan returned to full-time teaching, his novel gaining pages each evening. Marcus proposed a small getaway to Door County for Linda's recovery milestone, a cabin by the water. The trip was simple: walks, fresh air, conversations that flowed easier now. Linda watched Rowan and Marcus walk hand in hand along the shore and for the first time didn't look away. "You two look happy," she said later over dinner. Rowan smiled, the acknowledgement warming him like sunlight. Internal conflicts surfaced still. Rowan grappled with lingering resentment, journaling through nights when sleep evaded him. Marcus listened, offering perspective without pressure. "Forgiveness isn't forgetting," he reminded gently. "It's choosing peace." Linda faced her own demons, attending a local support group for parents, finally voicing the fears that had driven her rejection. The group leader's words echoed in her mind: "Love doesn't require agreement, only presence." She shared snippets with Rowan, tentative steps toward deeper understanding. A misunderstanding threatened the fragile peace. A hospital bill arrived, larger than expected, insurance complications from the accident. Rowan offered to cover the gap using savings he and Marcus had set aside for their future. Linda refused, pride flaring. "I won't be a burden." Arguments followed, heated, then cooling into honest dialogue. Marcus mediated calmly, suggesting a payment plan that preserved dignity for all. The resolution strengthened their bond, proving communication could bridge even financial gaps. Spring turned to summer, Chicago blooming with festivals and lake breezes. Rowan and Marcus hosted a small gathering at the bungalow, friends, students, and Linda's neighbors mingling under string lights. Tyler performed a poem about belonging, moving everyone to applause. Linda sat beside Marcus, sharing quiet laughter over stories from his hospital days. Rowan watched from the porch, heart full. The family he had lost was reforming, not identical but stronger for the fractures. Yet deeper layers remained. Rowan confronted a betrayal from an old college friend who had spread rumors after learning of the reconciliation. The hurt cut deep, echoing past rejections. Marcus stood by him solid and unwavering, helping Rowan process the pain without retaliation. Linda offered unexpected wisdom drawn from her own mistakes. People disappoint, but you decide how much power they hold. Her insight surprised Rowan, deepening respect. As summer peaked, Linda's strength returned fully. She joined a book club with Marcus's mother, discussing novels that touched on identity and love. Rowan finished the first draft of his novel, sending it to Marcus for feedback late one night. Their relationship thrived in the ordinary moments: grocery runs, movie nights, quiet affirmations. Love had become the thread weaving past, present, and future into something enduring. The novel draft marked a turning point for Rowan. Marcus read every page late into the night, offering notes that sharpened the story without softening its truth. "This is you," he said one morning, handing back the printed pages. "Raw, honest, powerful." Rowan submitted queries to agents, the act itself an affirmation of the identity he had fought to claim. Linda asked to read a chapter one evening, her reaction quiet but profound. "You write like someone who's lived it," she said, voice soft. The acknowledgement felt like another layer of healing. School year resumed with new students, new challenges. Rowan's LGBTQ club grew, attracting allies and those still questioning. Tyler returned as a peer mentor, his confidence blooming. Rowan watched the transformation, mirroring his own journey, pride swelling not for himself but for the ripple effect of courage. Marcus's clinic dream gained traction, hospital administrators approving a pilot program for pediatric support. They celebrated with a quiet dinner, Linda joining via video call from her book club night. A new conflict arose unexpectedly. Marcus received a job offer in Boston, a prestigious position at a children's hospital specializing in rare cancers. The opportunity promised advancement, research funding, everything he had worked toward. Yet it meant leaving Chicago, leaving Rowan's rebuilt life with Linda. They discussed it for hours on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below. "I won't go without you," Marcus said firmly. Rowan felt torn between supporting Marcus's career and the fragile roots they had planted. Linda sensed the tension during her next visit. "Don't let me hold you back," she said, surprising them both. Her selflessness opened space for honest planning. They visited Boston for a weekend, exploring neighborhoods, hospitals, parks. Linda stayed behind but called daily, encouraging exploration. The city felt vibrant, full of possibility, yet Chicago remained home, the bungalow, the lakefront, the life they had fought for. Back home, Rowan and Marcus weighed options, late-night talks, blending dreams with practicality. "Wherever we go together," Rowan declared. The decision crystallized, not to move immediately but to explore hybrid possibilities, remote work for Rowan, clinic expansion locally. Linda's growth continued. She attended Pride Month events with Rowan and Marcus, not marching but watching from sidelines, eyes wide with new understanding. A conversation with a fellow parent at the event shifted something deep. "My son came out 10 years ago," the woman shared. "I lost time I'll never get back." Linda returned home, quieter, processing. She began volunteering at the youth center. Rowan supported listening more than speaking. The experience humbled her, reshaping long-held beliefs one story at a time. Misunderstandings still surfaced. An old family friend confronted Linda at church, questioning the changes in her life. Words grew heated until Linda stood firm. "My son is happy. That's enough for me." The stand marked growth. Rowan, learning of it later, felt a surge of respect. Marcus celebrated with a special dinner, toasts to courage and second chances. Rowan's novel gained traction, an agent offering representation. Revisions consumed evenings, but Marcus and Linda provided support, feedback sessions turning into family affairs. The process healed old wounds, revealing layers of strength Rowan hadn't known he possessed. Linda read drafts, offering insights from her perspective, adding depth neither man had anticipated. Their collaboration wove 3 lives into one narrative thread. Fall arrived with crisp air and turning leaves. Rowan organized a school fundraiser for LGBTQ youth, Marcus speaking about medical access. Linda manned the bake sale table, her cookies drawing crowds and conversations. The event succeeded, raising funds and awareness. Watching his mother engage Rowan felt the last pieces of resentment dissolve, replaced by gratitude for the journey that had brought them here. A crisis tested them again. Marcus's father suffered a minor stroke in Naperville, prompting a family drive. Linda insisted on joining support steady and present. The hospital vigil mirrored their earlier ordeal, but now roles reversed, Linda offering comfort to Marcus's mother. The experience bonded the families, further shared meals, stories, laughter, healing across generations. Marcus's father recovered quickly, crediting the full house of support. Back in Chicago, routines deepened. Rowan and Marcus adopted a rescue dog, a playful mutt named Scout who filled the apartment with energy. Linda doted on the pup during visits, her laughter echoing through rooms once silent. The simple joy underscored how far they had come from rejection to this quiet domestic harmony. Internal awakening continued for each. Rowan confronted lingering identity questions in therapy, exploring how love for Marcus had reshaped his sense of self. Marcus processed the weight of being the steady partner, finding strength in vulnerability. Linda faced her role in past pain through journaling, sharing entries with Rowan in tentative trust. Each step forward built resilience against future storms. Society's pressures eased gradually. Colleagues, friends, neighbors witnessed the family's evolution, offering acceptance where judgment once lingered. Rowan's students thrived, inspired by his openness. Marcus's clinic pilot launched, successfully impacting young lives directly. Linda found purpose in advocacy, small acts of support that rippled outward. Winter approached again, but this time with warmth. They decorated the bungalow together, ornaments blending old and new. Marcus proposed on a snowy evening, down on one knee in the very kitchen where rejection had begun. "Will you build forever with me?" Rowan's yes came through tears, Linda watching from the doorway, eyes shining. The moment sealed their journey, not as ending but as beginning. Planning began modestly, a spring wedding at the lakefront with close friends, family, both blood and chosen. Linda threw herself into details, flowers, catering, small joys that mended old fractures. The process strengthened bonds, laughter replacing past silences. Rowan felt complete, whole in ways the rejection had once threatened to destroy. Yet reflection brought depth. Rowan recognized how crisis had forced choices none anticipated. Marcus's steady presence, Linda's evolving heart, Rowan's courage, each played vital roles. The story was theirs, uniquely human, imperfect, profoundly beautiful. Wedding preparations transformed the bungalow into a hub of activity. Linda pored over fabric swatches, with Marcus's mother laughter filling spaces once heavy with silence. Rowan balanced final novel revisions with suit fittings, Marcus handling logistics with his usual calm efficiency. Scout the dog added chaos, chasing ribbons and stealing socks, turning stress into play. The date was set for May, cherry blossoms framing the lakeside ceremony, a symbol of renewal none had foreseen. Invitations went out, carefully curated list blending worlds once separate. Tyler and Sarah confirmed attendance along with hospital colleagues and youth center kids. Rowan's agent called with exciting news, a publishing offer for the novel. The timing felt poetic, life imitating art in the best way. He shared the news over dinner, Linda raising her glass eyes misty. "I'm so proud of the man you've become." The words wrapped around Rowan like a long-awaited embrace. Challenges emerged as dates neared. A venue mix-up required last-minute adjustments, Marcus negotiating with quiet authority. Linda's old anxieties flickered during a fitting when well-meaning relatives questioned the modern setup. She handled it gracefully, redirecting conversations to joy. Rowan watched her growth with awe, realizing the woman who had once rejected him now championed their love openly. Rehearsal dinner brought everyone together, toasts flowing, stories shared. Marcus's father recounted meeting Rowan for the first time, praising the strength that had drawn his son. Linda spoke briefly, voice steady. "I almost lost my son to pride. Today I gain a family instead." Applause followed, tears and hugs sealing the circle. Rowan and Marcus stole a quiet moment on the porch, hands intertwined, city lights twinkling approval. The wedding day dawned clear and bright. Rowan stood at the altar, heart pounding as Marcus approached in a tailored suit, eyes locked with unwavering love. Linda walked Rowan down the aisle, her hand trembling but grip firm. Vows exchanged, simple, heartfelt promises of partnership through every season. Rings slipped on Scout, barking approval from the front row. The kiss that followed tasted of forever, cheers rising around them. Reception unfolded under string lights, laughter, dancing, conversations weaving past and present. Linda danced with Marcus, a slow, careful waltz symbolizing acceptance deeper than words. Rowan watched, tears blurring the scene, gratitude overwhelming. Friends shared memories, Tyler reciting a poem written for the occasion. The night stretched joyfully, no shadows, only light. Honeymoon followed, a week in a quiet cabin up north. Rowan and Marcus hiked, cooked, laughed, planning the years ahead. Calls home brought updates, Linda thriving in her volunteer work, the novel moving to editing. Distance only strengthened their bond, calls filled with affection and shared dreams. Return brought new rhythms. The published novel launched to modest success, reviews praising its honesty, emotional depth. Rowan did local readings, Marcus and Linda in the front row every time. Signings drew diverse crowds, stories shared that mirrored their journey. Linda engaged readers openly, her transformation inspiring many. Marcus's clinic expanded, full-time staff, community partnerships. Rowan joined as literacy coordinator, workshops blending books and support. Their work intertwined, impacting lives beyond their own. Linda continued advocacy, speaking at events about family reconciliation, her voice carrying weight earned through pain and growth. A new chapter opened unexpectedly. Marcus received recognition for the clinic and award ceremony in Chicago. The event honored their combined efforts, Rowan's novel cited as inspiration. Speeches highlighted themes of love, acceptance, resilience. Standing on stage together, they felt the full circle, from rejection to celebration. Yet life tested them still. A close friend faced coming out struggles, turning to them for guidance. Rowan and Marcus offered support, Marcus's medical insight, Rowan's lived experience. Linda joined conversations, sharing her perspective with humility. The experience reinforced their purpose, extending family outward. Internal reflections deepened. Rowan completed a sequel outline exploring ongoing journeys. Marcus considered further specialization, balancing career and home. Linda started writing her own reflections, a private journal evolving into public blog posts under pseudonym. Each pursuit enriched their shared life. Holidays arrived, filled with tradition and innovation. Thanksgiving blended recipes, cultures, laughter echoing. Christmas lights twinkled, Scout tearing wrapping paper. New Year's brought resolutions, gratitude lists shared around the table. Each gathering strengthened bonds, proving family was choice as much as blood. Spring returned, anniversary of the accident and wedding. They marked both with quiet reflection, picnic by the lake. Conversations turned philosophical, growth, forgiveness, the power of second chances. Linda's hand in Rowan's, Marcus's arm around them, both felt complete. Summer brought travel plans, a cross-country road trip visiting Marcus's extended family and new cities. Adventures strengthened resilience, laughter through flat tires, wrong turns. Linda joined for part of it, her energy matching theirs. The journey mirrored their emotional path, winding yet purposeful. Fall semester started with fresh energy. Rowan's classes explored identity through literature discussions, lively, insightful. Students thrived, Marcus's clinic welcomed new families. Linda's volunteer work expanded, mentoring parents navigating similar paths. Their impact rippled community-wide. Challenges arose again, a funding cut threatening the clinic. Rowan and Marcus rallied, community support, fundraisers, readings, benefit events. Linda's network contributed significantly, her transformation opening doors once closed. Success came through collective effort, reinforcing unity. Winter settled with cozy routines, fireside talks, novel edits, clinic plans. Scout aged gracefully, adding wisdom to play. Their home, the bungalow, now shared warmly hosted gatherings, friends, family chosen, and blood. Love had reshaped everything. Rowan's second novel took shape, exploring themes of redemption. Marcus proposed expanding the clinic nationally. Linda embraced her role as grandmother figure to youth center kids. each dream intertwined supporting the whole. Life's rhythm steadied yet vibrant. They faced each day with openness, the past a foundation, not a chain. Love, friendship, family, society, all dimensions woven into a tapestry rich and enduring. Years blended seamlessly after the wedding. Rowan's books gained wider acclaim, tour signings, interviews where he spoke openly about the journey from rejection to embrace. Marcus's clinic model replicated in other cities, his leadership recognized nationally. Linda became a quiet force in support groups, her story shared anonymously yet powerfully, helping countless families bridge divides. Their lives intertwined, not just surviving but thriving, proof that choices made in crisis could redefine everything. Scout passed peacefully one autumn surrounded by love. The loss stung, but they honored him with a small memorial, planting a tree in the yard. Grief deepened bonds, conversations turning to legacy, what they would leave behind. Rowan and Marcus discussed adoption or fostering children, ready to extend their family outward. Linda supported wholeheartedly, her home filled with grandchildren's laughter in their dreams. A major milestone arrived, Rowan's 40th birthday. They celebrated with a surprise gathering at the lakefront, friends, colleagues, family all present. Speeches recounted the path from that rainy October night to this moment of abundance. Linda's toast brought tears. "I almost lost the best parts of my life to pride. Thank you for teaching me what matters." Rowan hugged her long and tight, the embrace erasing final shadows. Marcus's health scare the following year, a minor heart issue, prompted lifestyle changes. Rowan stepped up, cooking healthier meals, coordinating checkups. Linda joined walks and yoga sessions, her own vitality inspiring. The experience reminded them fragility made every moment precious. Recovery strengthened resolve, deepening commitment to balance work and presence. Rowan finished his trilogy, the final book dedicated to Marcus and Linda. Launch events drew crowd, stories shared that echoed their truth. Critics praised the series for its humanity, its refusal to shy from complexity. Marcus read the dedication aloud at home, voice thick with emotion. Their love had inspired art that touched strangers, now circling back to heal the creators. Linda's 80th birthday brought reflection. They gathered at the bungalow, now renovated with ramps, wider doors, thoughtful adaptations. Grandchildren from adopted paths filled rooms, laughter echoing. She looked at Rowan and Marcus, eyes bright. "You gave me back my son and so much more." The words carried decades of growth. Society evolved to acceptance, broadening though challenges remained. Rowan and Marcus advocated quietly through their work, clinic programs, literacy initiatives. Linda's voice added weight in community forums. Their efforts created ripples, changing lives beyond their circle. A final crisis tested them once more. Marcus faced professional backlash when a donor questioned the clinic's inclusive policies. Media attention followed, Rowan's public support unwavering. Linda stood beside them at press conferences, her presence powerful. Unity prevailed, the donor relented, policies strengthened. The ordeal reaffirmed their foundation unshakable. Quiet years followed, travel, grandchildren, books, Marcus's retirement easing into consulting. They bought a small lakeside cottage, weekends filled with sunsets, conversations. Linda visited, often her wisdom guiding new generations. Life settled into profound contentment, the journey's lessons etched in every smile. Looking back, Rowan marveled at the path. From slammed doors to open arms, from isolation to community. Marcus's steady love, Linda's courageous evolution, his own awakening, each essential. The story was theirs, yet universal, reminding that family bonds, when chosen with courage, could overcome any divide. One crisp evening on the cottage porch, Rowan turned to Marcus and Linda. "We made it." They nodded, hands linked, the glowing sunset mirroring the light they had found together. The past no longer haunted, only informed, the present rich with possibility. True or false? A mother's pride should always come before her son's happiness?